looking at pivot tables, right? Pivot tables, analyzing data using pivot tables, right? So we have this last chunk of data, right? We have different periods, right? Different kinds of types of stores. We have convenience stores. If you move down, we will know we have quite a lot of data. We have supermarkets and we have whatnot. Drinks, right? I mean, product group. We have drinks, we have vegetables, we have sweets, we have cosmetics, we have like a large variety of product groups, right? We have different producers of those product group, right? This is their unique code, this is the volume, this is the cost, and this is the price, right? So if you want to do an analysis on this, right? So let's say we want to see the volume, right, per producer, right, for this particular period, for a particular period, for a particular time period, maybe for a year, for a month, like how do you work around that, right? So that's how that's why we use the pivot table. It makes analysis easier, analysis far better, right, than manually doing it or trying to find the way around it, right? So how do you do a pivot table? First, you click on the table you want, right? You select the data you want, right? So this is the range of data I want, right? Then I go to insert, right? Under insert, you see where you have pivot table. I'm going to use a highlighter to highlight it, right? So this is the table side section, right? But we have pivot tables here, right? So this is what we are looking at, right? So I said we highlight our with tables and we go to insert, right? So when we're insert, we go on pivot, go to pivot table, go to table and range, right? From table or range, right? So I mean, this is a range, it's not a table. It's not an Excel table. Remember, Excel table is different from a range table, right? This is a range, right? So click on this, right? And Excel says this from B4 to I 1000 or 15,000 and blah 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 blah. Say yes and click on OK. So you can either make your pivot table in the current worksheet in the current worksheet where you're working, or in a new worksheet, or in the current worksheet, right? Typically, I love to use a new worksheet. Most people like to use a new worksheet. Depends on you. So I click on new worksheet, and that's the default, right? That is fine, right? So now, if our first question now is to see which drinks, or which particular drink, right, or which particular producer had the highest number of volume, right? Doesn't matter what they were selling, but which producer has the highest number of volume, right? How do we do it, right? So in your pivot table, once you click on this, right, two extra um tabs appear. We have pivot analysis table and design table, right? And you can see that you also have a pivot table field that appear, right? If I click and on the new sheet, you also see a like report builder. If I click outside this report builder, you can see the field disappear and those two tabs disappear. But if I click on the report builder, you see that they are back again, right? In the pivot table analysis tab, right, this is where you can do different analysis, and we'll touch some, right? And some are grayed out because we don't have any data around, right? And for design, it's pretty much design, like aesthetics, right? How do you want to show it, right? Do you want to repeat columns? Do you want subtotals, grand totals, and the shebangs, right? Now, this is where the magic happens, right? This is your pivot field. So basically, you are just showing. You just want to, like, now. There's no um formula per se, right? There's no syntax to follow, right? It's driven by the person doing the analysis, right? So we have filter, right? We have column. Column means what you want to see on your column, right? That is this. What should be in your column, right? Rows, what should be in your rows? Value is what is. I mean, the interaction between your rows and your column, right? Or your rows and your filter, right? What should come out? The value that should come out. That's what this is all about, right? So what we want to see today is number of producers, the volume per producer, right? So what I want to see is the producer, right? So producer, I can drag it to column or row, right? I can bring it to row, right? And I want to see the volume, right? Volume will be in my values because I want to see the volume, right? So these producers, what are the volumes for each of them, right? So I bring my volumes to my values, right? So you can see it counted this count of volume, right? So it gave me count of volume. Then everything count of volume and sum of volume, right? Now let's go back again. Now this is the volume of the various things, right? If I say count of volume, what it will do is that San Benedetto, right? It will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The amount of times San Benedetto appears, that was it is counting the amount of times that volume appears, right? But if I want sum is total amount of volume. So what I want is not the count of how many times, is the is the total amount. So what I want to see is the sum, not the count, right? So I can change that simply by clicking on this, right? By clicking on this, right? And you see, I have a whole list of things I can do, right? I can summarize my value by sum, by count, by average, by mean, by max. What I'll see is sum, right? So I will summarize my value by sum, right? So give me the total amount, the sum of all the volumes, right? Um, let's go back and just show what's available. I can also show my value as a percentage of the grand total, right? So here it will show me which, like now, this is not telling me the actual numbers, but it's proportion of the total, right? I can show that as well, right? So you can play with it, right? So what I want to see is which person has the highest volume, right? I mean, it can be proportional, it can be total. All I just all I have to do is just to sort, right? So I come to this drop down here and I click on more sort option, right? And I click on um I mean ascending or descending, right? So I want to show I want to filter by sum of product ascending order, right? Or if it's descending order, depending on you. I click on OK, right? So give me ascending order. But like this is not this, I mean I would love to see maybe from the highest to lowest, right? So I come here, right? Go to more options and I click on descending order, right? And I click on OK, right? So it showed me that this actually has the highest proportion, right? So it accounts for 19.96% of the total volume, right? If I want to see the actual number, right, what I can do is I can just come here, right? As I said, I right click on this, summarize value as, show value as, instead of percentage of grand total, I say just show value as no calculation. So give me total value, right? And it can show me, I see that it has the highest proportion, right? And if I want to see both of them side by side, right, I want to see the sum of volume and I want to see the proportion as well. What I have to do is just pick this volume, also drag it here as well, right? And this is showing me count of volume. So remember what I said, I will change it to summarize value as sum or volume. Next thing I will do is that I will change it and make it show value as percentage of grand total, right? And now what I can do is I can now change my headers, right? So this is showing sum of volume, right? Maybe I can call this total volume, right? Volume, right? And this is proportion, right? Or percentage um of total volume, right? That kind of thing, right? Now you can name your headers by anything, but your headers cannot. The headers you have here, right? The headers you're changing it to cannot replicate any of the header here. So I cannot change this to volume, right? Volume on its own or unitary cost, right? Exactly the way it is, right? It has to be different from what is in the main table, right? So that is the short form, right? Now you can do very very many complex things with this, right? So, for example, now this is total producers, right? So let's see, right? We have different types of stores, right? So now let's bring the types of stores to filter, for example, right? Or yeah, to filter, right? So now let's filter. Now we have three types of stores: we have convenience store, hypermarket, and this, right? So using the three, San Benedetto is the highest, right? But if you say who is the highest volume for only hypermarket, I think on okay, you can see that it's no more San Benedetto, is um Rana, right? If I say okay, no, show me for supermarket alone, right? You can see that it's midi that has the highest volume, right? But if I say show me for convenience stores, you see, oh, it's San Benedetto, right? But if I say show me for all of them, right, it's still San Benedetto, right? Sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm not murdering it. If I'm murdering it, my apologies. It's not it's not my fault, right? Right. So now, so I've used filter and I've showed you how to work around it, right? I can also bring my product group, right? So we have different product groups, right? I can bring my product group and let's say I put my product group on the rows, for example. I put it above, right? So you can see, sorry, this is very confusing. So let me make it easier, right? So let me bring my types to my columns, for example. Right? I put my types to my column, right? So you can see that these are the three types. We have um the the three types we have, and we wanted volume. Let's say volume, right? And we don't want sum of volume, we want the but for the volume, we um want sum of volume, right? So I click on sum of volume, right? So now this shows me sum of volume, right? For and now I have for convenience stores, for hypermarket, for supermarket, and for grand total, right? So I've brought in I've brought in types to my column. I can take it back to my filter, right? So you can really just play around it. I can even bring my types to my row, right? So what it is for me that so from I brought my so now on my role I have both my types and my product groups, right? So I can see convenience stores. These are all the product group for convenience stores, right? If I minimize if I minimize it, you can see I have hyper hypermarket. I also have everything for hypermarket. I can also minimize this. I can see everything for supermarket. I can minimize this as well, right? And it just shows me the top grouping, right? And I can expand it if I want, right? So there are different ways, to be honest. There is no one way. It's just knowing what suits you. Obviously, it depends on what you're looking for, right? And now, what if I want to see everything at the same time, right? But like I don't want to filter it like this, right? I can go to my design, my report layout, and make it in a tabular form, right? So if it's a tabular form, right, you can see I have the type separate, then I have all the producers of the type, right? Then underneath I have my total of my types. I have hypermarket, I have everything that concerns hypermarket, I have my total hypermarket. I have supermarket, I have everything that concerns my supermarket, and I have my total, right? So the possibilities are endless, to be honest, right? There's no one way, right? And tomorrow when we're looking at how to do dashboards or use pivot charts, you understand some more, right? We can also repeat the columns, right? For example, sorry, let let, let me never get into that, right? So now we have this, right? Um, Now we know we have volume, we have cost, and we have price, right? Let's say we want to see the profit, right, or unit profit, right? And unit profit is unit price minus unit cost, right? But we've already done our pivot table already, right? And we don't want to bring in a new or we want to update our original table, right, and add products, right? We want to just show the product only on on our analysis. How do we do that, right? By showing our product only on our analysis. How do we work around that, right? Very easy. You can go to product analysis. Under product analysis, see calculations, right? Under calculations, you can see calculated field. So you can add a new calculation that is not in your original table, right? Only on your analysis table. So I go to calculated field, right? And I'm showing field name. What I want to show, the field name should be profit, right? So let's be profit, right? Now, what will be my formula, right? So equals to, I want my, um, let's say I want my bracket, unitary price, right? Set field minus unitary cost, right? Set field. Then let me multiply that by my volume. So I get the total profit. I mean, instead of unitary profit, I want the total profit, right? So unitary price minus unitary cost multiplied by volume give us let's call this total profit, for example, right? And I click on OK, right? You can see that I have my um new calculated field, right? Total profit, right? So it gives me the profit for each of them, right? And this profit is not in my original table, but is a calculated field in my pivot table analysis, right? So the possibilities using and I can come here and just do the formatting, right? That's I mean as I please, as I choose, right? So the possibilities are endless. Right now, imagine what we have here is that we have the periods, right? So imagine I want to see it for maybe only for a particular year, right? I can put the periods and make it in a filter, for example, right? You can see I can filter it, right, for a particular date, right? And you got I mean in the next class I'll show you how you can filter it for um maybe a particular month, a particular year, a particular quarter. When we go into creating dashboards, I'll show you how we'll do that in the next class. But pretty much it's just a high level overview. To be honest, pivot table is much, 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 much more than this. Right? The possibilities are endless. Obviously, the situation of of what you're trying to do will determine how you're going to do it. Right. But generally, this pivot table, I'm sure that the class is going to end late. I'm very sure going to end like 9 o'clock GMT, which is 10 p.m. GMT plus one, and time varies, right? But yeah, that is how you use pivot tables, right? Or generally how pivot table works. I'm going to still continue using this table in our next class, this result in our next class for pivot charts, right? Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next class.